fraction of 4/10, but we need to make that a decimal. Well, we should know how to write 4/10 as a decimal. Decimal 4. This is a 4. It is in the tenths place value, therefore it is decimal 4. You with me? Hope so. Moving on. If we have a fraction like 1/3, 3 is not a factor of 10, 100, or 1,000. So we must take our numerator to change this to a decimal. We must take our numerator and divide it by our denominator. So we have 1 being divided by 3. Well, 3 can't go into 1, so we have to add a decimal and a 0. How many? Well, first of all, we put our decimal into our answer right away. Then we ask ourselves, how many 3's are in 10? Well, there are 3 3's in 10. 3 times 3 is 9. We subtract and we're left with 1. Am I finished? No, I am not. I subtracted and have a 1, so I'm not finished. So I must add another 0, bring it down. How many 3's are in 10? 3. 3 times 3 is 9. Subtract, I'm left with 1. I can pretty quickly see that this is going to be what is called a repeating fraction, or a repeating decimal, I'm sorry. So my fraction of 1/3 is going to look like decimal 3, 3, and I'm going to put a bar over top of it to tell that that is repeating. If you skip down below your try it here at the bottom, there's a little note here that says, remember, if the digits start repeating, put a line. That is called bar notation. Put a line over the digits or digit that is repeating. So in this case, the 3 is the repeater. So I'm going to put a line over my 3 that tells me this decimal goes on and on and on forever. All right. Down here we have a little try it. You're going to do that on your own, where you're going to change each fraction into a decimal tonight, and you'll bring that to class tomorrow and we'll talk about it. All right, moving on to the last piece for your notes. We've just changed a fraction to a decimal. Now we're going to change a decimal to a fraction. Changing a decimal to a fraction. When changing a decimal to a fraction, the first thing we need to determine is the place value. The place value of the given decimal. Like I said, just copy down the notes and then we'll do an example in a minute. Write the digits following the decimal as the numerator of the fraction. The denominator will be whatever place value the decimal was written to. Step 4, simplify if needed. Remember, if the decimal has a whole number, the decimal portion is all that becomes the fraction. So let's look at a couple of these. If you have decimal 25 and you are turning that into a fraction, the first thing we do is we look at the number that follows the decimal. That number is 25. So we're going to write that number as the numerator in our fraction. Then we look at the decimal and we say, what place value is 25 to? So you know that the 2 is in tenths and the 5 is in hundredths. So we use that as our denominator. So there's 25 over 100. And then, of course, our final step is to simplify. 25 and 100 both divide by, you guessed it, 25. Go big or go home, right? How many 25s are in 25? 1. How many 25s are in 100? 4. So decimal 25 is equivalent to 1/4 as a fraction. All right, looking at a decimal that has a whole number with it. 2.05. The 2 does not become part of the fraction. It remains as a whole number, and you're going to write a fraction with it. You're going to make a mixed number is what's going to happen. Whole numbers with fractional pieces become mixed numbers. So we're going to take our piece that's our decimal, and we're going to write that number as the numerator. So 0.5, again, lead 0, you don't need it. So you just write a 5 as your numerator. And then what place value is that to? Tenths, hundredths.